just a bit about Norman. We'll have the discussion in English and also in Bahasa. My colleagues from Middle East, Shireen, will help translate for those Middle Eastern journalists. And feel free to ask your questions in any language, so it doesn't have to be an English one. So I think, Norman, before we start, it is an exciting time in this regional event. So can you share a bit with us what is so special about the Shalika Marathon program and what makes it interesting for the students?
Yeah.
Let's kickstart with that.
No, thanks, Edith, and thanks for the kind introduction. Well, the Shalika Marathon program, as we know it today, is such a long-standing property that is really designed to inspire the young and great engineering and scientific minds to come up with ideas that will dominate and that will shape mobility tomorrow, especially low carbon, highly efficient mobility. And the Shalika Marathon program, as it was originating in 1985, has always done this. It has captured the inspiration and the imagination of the young talents of their era to come up with new ideas, with innovations that would make it into the road cars of the future. So what we're seeing here today is simply the 38th year of this fantastic and amazing program, where over 70 teams from all around Asia Pacific and the Middle East come together, and they will compete against each other on the track on Friday, Saturday and Sunday for nothing more and nothing less than who has the most energy efficient vehicle. And that will be, at least for me, very interesting to watch.
Thank you. So interesting. So, jadi Shalika Marathon itu udah berjalan sejak 38 tahun yang lalu ya. Jadi dimulai dari taruhan gitu antar dua peneliti Shell di tahun 1939 dan akhirnya menjadi kompetisi yang secara formal dilaksanakan pertama kalinya di Eropa di tahun 1985. Dan saat ini untuk acara regional event di Asia Pacific dan the Middle East, kita akan melihat performa dari lebih dari 70 tim di Asia Pasifik dan Timur Tengah yang akan berkompetisi di dua kategori urban concept dan prototype, dan kita akan melihat siapa yang bisa memecahkan rekor gitu kan dengan kendaraan yang paling efisien. So probably for the next time I can invite the questions from the journalists. Yeah.
Hello, I'm from Korea.
Hello.
What's the difference between the Shalika Marathon that you held before in 2022 and in 2023 right now? What's the difference? What is special?
Yeah. First of all, if you have been here in 2022, it's much bigger. So we have 76 teams here on site, if I counted correctly. Yeah. We have teams from 13 countries across Asia Pacific and the Middle East. And of course you can tell from the side, it looks much nicer. It's much bigger, it's much more lively. And I have to say, and the technical inspection only just started, from what I've seen walking through the garages, it looks like some of the cars really moved on. Look much better than last year, much more slick, but we'll see if that translates to performance on the track.
Okay. Thank you so much. Jadi tadi pertanyaannya apa yang membedakan Shalika Marathon tahun lalu di tahun 2022 dan sekarang di tahun 2023. Jadi Pak Norman mengatakan yang sekarang tentu saja lebih besar. Kita saat ini memiliki 76 tim yang akan berpartisipasi dari 13 negara di Asia Pasifik dan Timur Tengah. Kemudian Pak Norman juga sudah melihat tadi di technical inspection, kendaraan-kendaraan yang ada itu terlihat lebih canggih gitu kan, modelnya lebih bagus, tapi kita akan lihat nanti apakah itu diterjemahkan dengan baik di sirkuit. Oke, thank you.
Yes,
Okay.
So when do we expect to, Maya from Gulf Times newspaper in Qatar and Amazon. So we were wondering about when do we expect to see one of the cars of the Eco Marathon using the least amount of fuel actually circulating on the streets?
Mm-hmm. You're already seeing some on the streets, if I can say that. No. The cars that are built in the Shalika Marathon, of course, are student experimental cars. You will never see a car one for one on the road. They're not designed to be on the road. They don't have the safety features that you would need on the road. But what we are intending with the Eco Marathon, and what is also the outcome, is that technologies in the cars are being developed to be used somewhere later on the road and in road vehicles. So let me give you a couple of examples. Things like start-stop technology, for instance. So basically, you switch your engine off when you don't need it, because why would you run an engine that is not needed? In most mid-sized cars these days, you approach a traffic light, the car comes off. Start-stop technology was already used by Shell Eco Marathon students in the 80s, and now is part of every car. But it gets a little bit more sophisticated. So many universities use their car as a platform for technology they develop, and then they market this idea and the technology off. So things that are typically being developed and are being then taken into industry are, for instance, nowadays, software technologies. So how to charge and efficiently discharge a battery. There's a lot of efficiency in this. Teams have developed as sophisticated things like ball bearings, the bearings that the wheel spins on. Very, very highly efficient ball bearings that you can now buy in the catalog, for instance, of manufacturers. Fuel cells have been developed. Composite materials, the body, that is not always carbon fiber. The teams have played, for instance, with organic fiber and biodegradable resins. So these materials, all these technologies make it into our cars, and some of them, as I said, you can already find. The cars themselves are still student projects.
Jadi tadi pertanyaannya, kapan kita bisa melihat mobil-mobil yang sekarang dibuat di Shell Eco Marathon itu akan ada di jalan raya? Jadi teknologinya sebetulnya sudah bisa dilihat di berbagai mobil yang sekarang ada di jalan raya. Tapi tentu saja mobil yang diciptakan oleh teman-teman mahasiswa di sini itu tidak didesain untuk dijalankan atau dijadikan kendaraan untuk digunakan bergendara di jalan raya. Karena tadi alasannya safety feature-nya atau fitur-fitur keamanannya masih kurang, dan mereka memang tidak dirancang untuk bisa berjalan di jalanan biasa gitu kan. Tapi kalau misalkan kita melihat beberapa teknologi yang ada di kendaraan pada saat ini, misalnya start and stop teknologi, itu adalah teknologi yang diciptakan oleh teman-teman mahasiswa di Shell Eco Marathon sejak tahun 1980-an gitu. Jadi mereka menciptakan dan menjadikan ajang Shell Eco Marathon ini sebagai platform atau wadah untuk menguji teknologi yang bisa digunakan di masa depan gitu. Jadi ada beberapa contohnya seperti tadi start and stop technology, terus bisa melihat teknologi dari softwarenya juga gitu. Bagaimana mereka bisa melakukan pengecasan daya gitu kan, charge and discharge secara aman. Kemudian ada teknologi ball bearings yang sangat efisien, fuel cell untuk hydrogen juga. Kemudian dari komposit materialnya tidak hanya menggunakan carbon fiber, tapi ada juga beberapa yang sudah menggunakan biodegradable resin dan organic fiber. So that's all. Okay.
Can I make one addition to that
Sure.
question? We as Shell for 38 years have been providing this platform for the students. It is very important to us to make sure the students protect their intellectual property, their ideas. These are not Shell ideas, we also don't own them. So therefore also, if you want to find out more about them, I really encourage you, go downstairs, talk with the team. They will love to tell you what they are working on, what they are researching on, what their research focus at the university is. And you will learn so much more about their novel technology. I'm telling this here also really as a conduit, because we only find out in the tech inspection. It is not the purpose of us to know the technology, it's for us to give the platform. So I invite you all, talk to the students, and you will find amazing stories.
Thank you.
Sorry, translate. Should we translate?
Oh, you translate? Okay, sorry. It's multi-way, huh?
Yeah. So sorry, just give like a brief translation to the team. So jadi tadi Pak Norman menambahkan kita sudah melakukan Shell Eco Marathon ini selama lebih dari 38 tahun kan. Jadi yang mau digarisbawahi di sini adalah para tim mahasiswa itu tetap akan melindungi kekayaan intelektualnya. Jadi kita tidak sama sekali gitu mengambil hak atas kekayaan intelektual itu dari teman-teman mahasiswa. Jadi mereka yang akan punya hal itu, dan kita memang hanya menyediakan wadahnya saja gitu, seperti itu. Jadi kalau misalkan boleh tadi disarankan sama Pak Norman, teman-teman kalau misalnya mau tahu lebih banyak mengenai teknologi yang diciptakan oleh teman-teman mahasiswa di Shell Eco Marathon, bisa datang ke garage, nanti bisa menghubungi kami siapa kira-kira tim yang mau diwawancara gitu kan, untuk menemukan lebih lanjut mengenai inovasi dan teknologi yang mereka temukan gitu untuk kendaraannya. Terima kasih. Who has to ring?
Sure. So it's basically a follow-up question to the past couple of questions. So did Shell previously or planning to ever to have an intellectual property right or use any of those inventions by the students to nurture it further down the road? Is there a plan to do so?
There's no plan to do so. And also, as I said before, it is very, very important to us. We offer a platform. And part of our rules, for instance, gives very clear instructions and also help to the students. They must protect their ideas and their intellectual property before they bring it to the eco-marathon. The moment they use it out here, it's in the public domain. And as you know, Shell is not in the business typically of building cars, as you probably not be surprised about. So therefore, for us, it is giving this platform. I don't know of any example in the past where we would have talked to a school in any shape or form to utilize the technology. But I understand also from our students, there are many players in the industry, obviously more from car or from the wider OEM business, who they are working with and who are funding sometimes the research and how the technology is in the end being utilized by or sold to. But again, my invitation is speak to the students. They are not only the ones who have the ideas, but also they are the ones who are taking these ideas further.
Oke, thank you. Jadi tadi pertanyaan follow up-nya adalah apakah ada rencana dari Shell untuk lebih jauh mengadopsi atau menggunakan teknologi yang digunakan oleh teman-teman mahasiswa ini lebih lanjut gitu kan. Jadi jawabannya tidak ada rencana ke sana, seperti tadi yang Pak Norman sampaikan, bahwa kita sangat memproteksi atau melindungi kekayaan intelektual dan ide-ide yang diciptakan oleh mahasiswa. Jadi kita hanya menyediakan platformnya sekali lagi, dan apabila teman-teman ingin mengetahui lebih lanjut, silahkan mewawancara teman-teman mahasiswa sendiri, karena mereka yang memiliki ide-idenya dan mereka yang akan bisa menceritakan lebih lanjut bagaimana mereka akan lebih jauh membawa ide ini ke depannya. Thank you. Yes. Okay. Can go first. You go.
Okay, Mr. Norman. In your opinion, what's the potential Indonesia can create car of the future, and what's here, in your opinion?
What is the potential of the teams here?
Yeah, in Indonesia, Indonesian team or organization or corporation like that. What's the potential Indonesia can create car of the future?
Yeah. Well, allow me, I'm not saying this because Indonesia is such a wonderful host to this competition, but Indonesian teams have really rocked the boat in the Asia Pacific and Middle East competition in the last decade, I would say. As you know, the first world champion of Shell Eco Marathon in 2016 was an Indonesian team, Bumi Siliwangi. And they went all the way to take the crown of the best team in the world. So I have full confidence that the Indonesian teams again will play an important role on the track at the weekend in winning at least some of the competitions, and I'm pretty sure we will see them in the World Championship finale in October in India, representing Indonesia, I think in quite some force, but it's a competition we will have to see. From a technology side, again, the week is early. If you ask me that again on Sunday, I can maybe give you a few ideas of what technology ideas I have seen from Indonesian teams that can make it into cars. But one thing I can tell you for sure, the team members that are working on these cars, they have learned something in this competition that they will take on into their future roles, and they will be prepped for really good jobs. And I can tell you, they will never forget this experience, and they will take this learning with them for the rest of their lives.
Yep. Jadi pertanyaannya tadi, bagaimana Pak Norman melihat potensi dari tim-tim Indonesia di Shell Eco Marathon? Jadi Pak Norman juga menyampaikan bahwa tim-tim Indonesia itu telah memiliki prestasi yang sangat mengagumkan di 10 tahun atau dekade terakhir. Dan Pak Norman menyebutkan juga bahwa di tahun 2016 tim Bumi Siliwangi dari Indonesia, Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia telah menjadi juara untuk Drivers World Championship. Dan beliau juga percaya bahwa tim Indonesia kali ini akan juga meraih pencapaian yang luar biasa gitu. Jadi untuk sisi teknologi sampai sekarang masih terlalu awal untuk dilihat, tapi mungkin nanti di hari Sabtu atau hari Minggu kita bisa melihat lebih lanjut. Namun Pak Norman mempercayai bahwa tim Indonesia akan dapat mewakili region atau kawasan ini di acara final World Championship yang akan diselenggarakan di India. Oke, go ahead.
Tadi Mas question bahasa.
Iya, sure.
Ada rencana nggak buat menyelenggarain marathon selanjutnya di selain di Mandalika?
Okay, so the question is whether you have any plan for the next Shalika Marathon to be conducted in other countries outside Indonesia.
I'll probably have to ask you to ask me that question again in a few months' time. But honestly, it is the philosophy and the idea of Shalika Marathon that whether it is the Shalika Marathon Europe or Asia Pacific in the Middle East, we want to stay true to the name, which also means we have to move on. And typically, if you look at the history, we move on after 3-4 years to a new place, to a new venue. Now, this is the second year in this wonderful location in Mandalika on Lombok, so it is probably not quite time yet for us to move on. But I can also say, yes, we will be moving on, and we will find another great location, I'm very sure, somewhere in Asia Pacific and the Middle East in the years to come.
Okay. So, pertanyaannya tadi, apakah ada rencana untuk menyelenggarakan acara Shalika Marathon ini di lokasi lain di luar Indonesia? Jadi Pak Norman tadi menyampaikan mungkin harus ditanyakan ya beberapa bulan lagi ke depan gitu kan untuk rencana tersebut. Tapi jika kita melihat sejarah sebelumnya, Shalika Marathon ini di kawasan manapun itu selalu diselenggarakan di lokasi yang berbeda-beda. Probably I can add like a bit more information on Asia itself.
Yep.
Like we have like already couple of locations. So the first time we did it in Sepang. Jadi pertama kali kita lakukan di Sepang, Kuala Lumpur, dan kita pernah lakukan di Singapura juga, dan kita pernah lakukan di Manila juga. Jadi ini keempat kalinya kawasan di Asia atau negara di Asia menyelenggarakan Shalika Marathon. Oke. Nanti dulu ya. Go ahead, Kompas.
Ya, pertanyaan saya adalah bagaimana sebenarnya Shell melihat peran mahasiswa atau anak muda dalam mendorong ekosistem mobil ramah energi ini di masa mendatang. Lalu selain lewat Shell Eco ini apa saja sebenarnya upaya dari Shell untuk mendorong hal itu?
Okay, so the question is that how do you see the role of students in helping innovate and also drive the creation of energy efficient vehicle that is more environmentally friendly? And then the second question is what are other efforts that is being done by Shell in the space outside the Shalika Marathon?
So the role of the students, to the first part, the role of the students is, I think, twofold. The students in Shalika Marathon have always, since 1985, trying to do two things. Reduce energy use, so increase the efficiency of the cars, or use energies that are either low carbon or zero carbon in their nature. And both activities, reducing the energy consumption and using zero carbon or very sustainable renewable energies, will lead to ultimately decarbonize the mobility. And these people downstairs are some of the brightest of their generation to achieve this. And that's why I think that effort is, as you know, Shalika Marathon, you have at the moment internal combustion engine, battery electric and hydrogen. And between the two renewable energies, electricity and hydrogen, about 65% of teams are already competing in them. It is entirely their choice. And nonetheless, whatever energy you use, we believe in, you should use as little as possible in order to allow other things to be achieved with the other energy. On the second one, I have to refer you to Edith. She will be very happy to put you in touch with the real experts in Shell to talk about other initiatives of Shell. I'm a Shalika Marathon expert, and I cannot really tell you much more about other activities at Shell.
Yeah. So the question was, what is the role of students in driving the creation of energy efficient vehicle? So, and then the second one, what are other Shell initiatives other than Shell Eco Marathon that we're doing in the space? So for the second questions, I can say that from country to country, the initiatives will be different depending on the focus. So you can reach out later to Reza for the one or the initiatives in Indonesia. But for the first questions, yang pertama itu, sorry, I have to speak in bahasa because you're answering in bahasa. Jadi mengurangi penggunaan energi gitu kan dengan meningkatkan efisiensi. Yang kedua, inisiatif kedua adalah dengan menggunakan zero carbon atau bahan bakar yang rendah karbon. Yang keduanya akan membantu decarbonize the mobility, jadi membantu dekarbonisasi di sektor transportasi gitu. Nah, saat ini kita mempunyai 3 sumber energi ya. Jadi ICE, internal combustion engine, yang terdiri dari bensin, diesel, etanol, kemudian ada sel hidrogen, dan kemudian baterai elektrik. Saat ini kompetisi di Shell Eco Marathon 65% dari total partisipan itu sudah menggunakan renewable energy. Jadi di baterai elektrik dan juga hidrogen gitu.
Thank you.
Oke, go ahead. From Al Jazeera.
Nama saya Ihsan dari Al Jazeera. Tadi dikatakan kompetisi ini berlangsung di 3 kawasan lain,
Yeah.
Asia, Eropa, dan juga Amerika. Bagaimana Anda melihat perbandingan kualitas kompetisi di antara 3 kawasan ini? Mungkin bisa dilihat progresnya seperti apa di antara 3 kawasan ini. Apakah kemudian negara-negara dari negara yang memiliki ekonomi relatif berkembang itu less developed dari negara maju barangkali, atau bagaimana dalam hal eksperimen yang mereka lakukan?
Ya, terima kasih Mas. So he's asking, we have like 3 regional events in Asia, America, and also Europe. How do you see the comparison of the competition, the progress, I mean like the technology, and do you think that the student teams participating from a developed country is better than those in the developing countries? So that's the question.
No, a very good question, and this is one of the fun parts of my job. I get to see them all around the world, and I have had the great pleasure to see them for the last 20 years. And really the heartwarming thing for me is that engineering students, by and large, whether they study in Boston, in Berlin, or in Jakarta, they're all the same. They're as creative, they're as innovative, they make the same mistakes, the same silly mistakes as all over the world. So we're seeing from the student teams in their dedication, in their effort, we see differences, but they are not region specific. Of course there are teams that are more driven, that are more determined. We're seeing teams that have more money, but none of them determines whether they are successful down there on the track. Because we have seen teams, some European teams, who had really, really good industry funding. I mean, certainly 6-figure sums in euro terms or dollar terms. They didn't get a valid run together. Why? They had fantastic technology, they had great help to buy machinery to produce things, but they forgot that they need to do and test, and they need to get the basics right. Yeah? Because if you use an engineering brain, and I'm an engineer by heart, you must get the basics right. Just to have the most efficient engine doesn't help you anything if you don't get around the track 5 times. And that is also the great learning for the students in Eco Marathon. To succeed in life and in your job, you need to be thorough, you need to be diligent. Having the biggest wallet does not buy you success. And that is, I think, for me also as an engineer, a very heartwarming story and a learning.
Thank you so much. Jadi jawabannya dari Pak Norman adalah beliau sudah melihat ya banyak sekali tim peserta yang berkompetisi di 3 kawasan di Eropa, Amerika, dan Asia. Dan yang menarik dari observasinya adalah beliau melihat bahwa anak teknik gitu ya, mahasiswa teknik mau di Boston, mau di Berlin atau Jakarta gitu, mereka sama-sama kreatif, mereka sama-sama inovatif, dan kadang mereka juga melakukan kesalahan yang sama gitu. Jadi tidak berpengaruh gitu kawasannya di mana atau tingkat ekonominya seperti apa. Nah, kadang ada yang membedakan itu adalah ada tim yang memiliki lebih banyak pendanaan, misalnya ada tim yang lebih gigih gitu. Tapi di sini beliau bisa melihat bahwa tim yang memiliki banyak sponsor atau lebih banyak pendanaan tidak selalu menjadi pemenang gitu. Karena kadang-kadang yang menjadi sangat penting adalah mereka harus benar-benar memperhatikan dan memastikan bahwa they get the basic right. Jadi hal-hal yang dasar itu harus dilakukan terlebih dahulu. Jadi kedepannya Shell Eco Marathon ini juga mengajarkan teman-teman mahasiswa. Jadi kalau misalnya mereka mau sukses di kehidupan maupun di karirnya gitu, mereka harus berpikir semua aspek, tidak hanya gitu karena misalnya mahasiswa ini memiliki uang, itu akan menjadi jaminan bagi mereka untuk sukses gitu. Jadi mereka juga harus mengingat bahwa walaupun mereka punya teknologi yang sangat bagus atau yang sangat advance untuk kendaraannya, mereka masih harus melalui track di sirkuit 5 putaran, dan apakah mereka bisa melakukan itu dengan efisien atau tidak gitu. Terima kasih. Any other questions? Iya, karena Mbak Farah udah nanya tadi ya.
Dari penjelasan awal ini kan sepertinya Shell Eco Marathon ini kan bertolak belakang dengan bisnis Shell ya, karena mengurangi efisiensi, sedangkan kan Shell bisnisnya jualan. Ya maksudnya apa maksud utama Shell dengan menggelar Shell Eco Marathon?
Okay, so the question is, what is Shell's main purpose with this Shell Eco Marathon program? Because somehow it's a bit contradictory, because from our business perspective, we're actually selling fossil fuels and everything. And what are we aiming with the Shell Eco Marathon?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and it may look contradictory at the beginning. I don't think it is. If you look at our general corporate strategy of powering progress, giving energy to people for less CO2. I think it is fully in line with the corporate strategy. We want to provide energy, and we want to continue to provide energy to people who want to buy it, and we want to do it with less CO2. So getting the CO2 intensity of the energies down and the efficient use, here in the case of mobility, up, then that's exactly in line with our powering progress strategy. So therefore, we feel also as an educational program that the Shell Eco Marathon is. I think it is one of our proudest activities in this, is to encourage students all over the world. And this year alone, there are nearly 400 universities from all over the year that are participating in this program. So around about 5,000 students who are learning how to use renewable energies, other conventional energies, but to get their usage efficiency up and to use less. I mean, just to give you maybe a feel for it, the world record at the moment of a French team in one of the prototype cars stands at over 3,700 kilometers per liter. So that is about going from 1 liter of fuel from London to Rome and back. I don't know what is an Asian equivalent. I need to look up a good Asian equivalent. But for those of you, London to Rome, that is a long drive. And going back again on 1 liter of fuel, that is how efficient these cars are. So it shows that when you apply yourself, when you apply technologies, you can make great achievements.
Thank you, Norman. Jadi tadi jawaban Pak Norman, sebetulnya secara global ini sejalan dengan strategi kita powering progress gitu kan, dimana kita mau menyediakan energi untuk masyarakat dengan tingkat emisi yang lebih rendah gitu. Dan sebetulnya educational program atau program edukasi seperti Shell Eco Marathon ini justru mendorong gitu kan, mendorong mahasiswa atau generasi muda untuk membantu mencari solusi bagaimana sih kita bisa melakukan mobilitas gitu kan dengan lebih rendah emisi. Nah, saat ini kita sudah memiliki kayak lebih dari di semua kawasan ya, 400 universitas yang berpartisipasi dan lebih dari 5.000 mahasiswa juga atau anak sekolah ya, karena kan ini sebetulnya untuk high school dan universitas gitu. Kemudian Pak Norman juga mengatakan untuk rekor di Shell Eco Marathon French ada satu tim prototipe yang memiliki rekor lebih dari 3.700 km per liter yang kendaraannya bisa seefisien itu, dan kalau misalkan diukur secara jarak itu seperti berkendara dari London ke Roma dan balik lagi gitu, jadi sangat efisien. Anything else? Any further questions? No? Mbak Farah, do you want to ask any questions? Just last one, probably.
Last year when we interviewed you, you said you guys going to let public to see this event.
Yes.
So okay, many public was out of the situation, so why not this year?
Yeah. Well, if I said we're probably looking into it, that's what I said. Yeah, no, I think I need to refer you to our local colleagues here we are working with. This is an event that we're very, very proud of. And also that's the reason why we love to talk to you, so that you talk about it. It is always a bit of a challenge to plan for public attendance, because you need to provide a lot of facilities, you need to provide the catering, and all that costs money. And our first focus in Shell has to be that with the money we have to invest in this event, we can guarantee that the competition for the students is effective, is efficient, and that they have the best possible experience. And then we can always see what we can do in order to allow the public in. So we are in talks. We're talking, I spoke with my Indonesian colleague last night, so that we're looking into it and we're trying to make it possible where and when it is possible.
Ya, thank you. Jadi jawabannya dari Pak Norman, beliau harus bertanya lagi ya, gitu, mendiskusikan lebih jauh dengan tim lokal di Indonesia, gitu, karena kalau misalkan kita mau membuka acara ini untuk publik dan masyarakat umum, banyak hal-hal yang perlu diperhatikan, karena kan kita tidak mungkin mengundang tamu tanpa persiapan yang cermat, gitu ya. Jadi ada faktor biaya, and probably can add about the safety aspect that we want to manage by having like a smaller group of people, dan mungkin kayak faktor keselamatan juga, gitu. Jadi kita masih mendiskusikan kemungkinan acara ini dibuka untuk umum di tahun-tahun mendatang. Thank you. So all good. Okay, we have one.
Yes,
Yeah.
so I'm asking this question on behalf of Mr. Ali from Al-Raya publication in Qatar. So this year there are 2 teams participating
Yes.
from Qatar, and across the past years also there have been significant participations from Qatar in addition to other countries from the Middle East. So his question is, what's your observation on the Qatari teams across the years, and if you've managed to have any observations for this year round as well?
I'm paraphrasing the answer from just a few minutes ago. Let's talk about this on Sunday again. It is the first time in many years that the Qatari teams are participating again. Obviously we had a break with the COVID time anyway. But I love to see the Qatari teams back. It is wonderful. I saw them as they checked in, full of energy, cheering. And on Sunday I can tell you how they have done, how they were prepared. And but what I remember from the past when we had them, I think they were always very well determined. They were always very committed. And so I look really forward to have more Middle Eastern representation in principle. The Saudi team is there. The Qatari team is there. So let's catch up later in this week to see how they are progressing.
Does that answer your question? Okay, thank you. Jadi tadi sedikit pertanyaannya mengenai tim Qatar, ditanyakan bagaimana observasi Pak Norman terhadap tim-tim Qatar yang sebelumnya juga pernah berpartisipasi. Lalu Pak Norman menjawab bahwa beliau akan bisa melihat di hari Minggu ya, gitu kan, seperti apa performanya. Tapi sejauh ini observasi beliau selalu melihat tim Qatar itu sangat energik, gitu ya, sangat committed. Berkomitmen tinggi dan sangat gigih juga, gitu. Okay, I think that would be all. If there's no more questions, thank you all for